Alright, in this video we will see how to create this Doctor CRM. So let me show you what this CRM does. CRM is nothing but customer relationship management. Now we have a doctor module and we have a consultation module. Let's say we are going to add a doctor. Let's name it as something related to, let's make the doctor name as Suresh, and he's specialized in making his pediatrician, and he has experience about 5 years. If I save it, you see we get a message doctor saved successfully, and we see that the record has been added on the doctor section. Now this is a clinic, and let's say a patient has come. So this patient name is Rahul, and he has a disease, let's say he has a mild fever, and we are taking the consultancy fees of 300 rupees, and we are going to choose which doctor is going to attend. So this software is going to be handled by a receptionist who would think that this person Rahul should get allotted to a certain doctor. So we know Doctor Vishal, and click on save consultation. Once you click on save consultation, you see a pop-up saying that consultation created successfully. Now you see there is a patient called Rahul who has fever, and he has met Dr. Vishal, and this is a dashboard where you will see you have total 2 doctors, and total consultation is like 2, and the revenue so far generated is 800 rupees. And who is the best doctor? Here the best doctor is calculated based on the patients that he has managed or consulted. So here Dr. Vishal is the top doctor. So let me choose one more. Let's create one more patient, and we will name it as we can give any name, and it's up to you. Let's say his name is Michael, and he has a disease, let's say migraine, and the consultation fees is like 800 rupees, and the doctor that he is going to consult is Suresh. Click on save consultation, and now again one consultation got added. So let's add one more patient, and we'll call it as Pradeep, and he has come for eye checkup, and consultation fees is 500, and the doctor Suresh is going to attend him. Click on save. Now you see in the dashboard the revenue is incremented to 2100 rupees, and currently the top doctor is Suresh. The reason is Suresh has handled 2 patients, one is 800 and the other one is 500, which is a total of 1200, whereas Vishal, the Dr. Vishal, has also got 2 patients, but his total revenue is like 800 rupees. So we see the Dr. Suresh is now the top doctor for the clinic. The total revenue is 2100. So far this 2 doctor has consulted 4 patients. So this is the introduction of this particular application, which is Doctor CRM. This is a very basic CRM. Here we are going to focus on relationship in the MERN. We won't be using React.js, but consider we will be creating everything from scratch, this folder structure, and we will be creating 2 models, 2 controller, 2 routes, because we have doctor and we have consultation. Now that's enough with the intro. Let's get into the project and start everything from scratch. To start, let's create a blank folder on the desktop. Click on desktop, and we will make it as task 2, and over here select folder. Now what we have to create the server. To create the server we need npm. So control backtick, I'm calling the npm init, so that a package.json gets created, where you will have your all the package information. For now we won't be having any packages, and let's install the required packages. First we need a Mongoose, then we need a Express, then we need a Node.js, then we need .env. Click enter. These are the 4 packages that we need. Actually, here you should have install or the keyword I. Now the list of package that got installed. The second thing is now we need to create an entry point. So let's name our entry point as server. So let's create a new file and we will call it as server.js, and we need to create server. So for that we need one package, which is, let's create an instance of Express, and with this Express we need to create a instance of app. Now with this app instance we can call the listen function, where it will ask for first the port, and this first parameter as port, the second parameter as callback function. Now to run the server, node server.js. Now you will simply see this console.log that's get printed on the terminal. That means your server is running. Now for a just let's create a basic route, that is going to be get route, and for the response we'll be getting hello world. So if I type localhost 3000 through 3000, you should get this hello world, but unfortunately that's not how it works in MERN. We need to close the server and restart the server again, npm or node server.js, and to see the changes you have to refresh again. Now I don't want to restart the server again and again. In that case I'll be using a command called let's call it as dev. And when I type dev in the terminal, I want node mon server.js to get executed. Close this server and type npm run dev. Once you type npm run dev, if there is no error, there is an extra comma. If there is no error, what would happen? A new port. The server got installed again. That means if I change any value now 2 3 4 5 and click on save and refresh it again, you see those values got printed even without killing the server. 8, you see, just by saving it your server got restarted. On the sidebar you can see this is the terminal that's running on each control S. Cool. We have a format for the server.js, so we would be writing in this format: first config, then we would have connection related, then we would have middleware, and then we would have routes, and then we would have what? Server. So we have written server and basic routes here. Now what else we need? Let's connect with the database. So let's make sure your MongoDB is active, and I'm going to use the Doctor DB. Let me just drop these two tables so that click on drop collection. You just have to type consultations, click on drop consultation, and then it is asking me to type doctors for the confirmation, and that's done. We think we have dropped the whole database. That's fine. If you want, we can create one more and we will call it as Doctor DB, and the collection should there should be one minimum one collection, so I'll give the name as consultation. Cool. Now that's enough. Now let's create a file that would be responsible for connecting your Express application with the MongoDB. So let's create a folder, and inside folder we need db.js, and over here whenever we would be talking about Mongoose or database, there should be a package which is Mongoose. We'll create the instance of Mongoose, and we'll create a function, and this function, since it's going to get connected with database, it should be async, and also we should use try and catch. And here it would accept a URL for the connection. So for that we will create a .env file, .env, where we would be defining our URL. So let me pick it from the previously created application. So this is our database, and this is my username, and this is my password. So this has to be kept secret. I'll change this once this video is done. Now we can connect this Mongo URL, and we need to call one function which is mongoose dot connect, and that's enough. And this should be await, since we have made this function asynchronous, and we can display a log saying that MongoDB connected. Now we have created a new module. Now whenever we create a new module, there should be one thing which has to be exported. So here we have created a function called connectDB, and we are exporting connectDB. Wherever we call this function, we would be using one function which is connectDB. Once we use that function, your database would get connected. So in this place, let's just first call that function, and then we will be working with connectDB. So you see a server is running, and you should see the database is also running, but unfortunately I could not see anything related to that. That means, yeah, it won't work like that. You have to call the .env package, with the config function, and let's create an instance of this. Now to call the .env value into this function, what we have to do is we need to call the process.env.mongo URL. Now this would work. You see your server is running and your MongoDB got connected. Now the next thing is we need to call or create a basic HTML, where it should when I type localhost :3000, what should happen is a basic HTML should load. So here in this case, let's create a public folder. Inside public folder, we will create one function, and we'll call it as one file, and we'll call it as index.html. Now let's create a basic HTML, and over here h1 hello from HTML. Now to load this, instead of sending static text, what we will do is we'll send the file. We cannot directly send index.html. Instead, what you have to do is we need to create a middleware, call a middleware. Whenever we call middleware, we will be using app.use, and over here we need to call a middleware which is express.static, and it would accept what folder. The same way we can call we need to give a location of this application. To give the location of this application, we need one more module, which is path, which will give you the absolute location. The path has one function, which is join, and where we will pass the directory name, current directory name, which will pass the absolute URL of this application. Here in this case we are at the desktop, and then the folder to look for and what file to look for. So with this, whenever I search for slash, which is localhost 3000, you will find the text from the HTML. So this is how we call it. Now this isn't enough. If I comment this for now, and I'll explain you, if I link some CSS to this HTML, it won't work. So let me link CSS, Control N, Control S, style.css, and body background as red. Now if I refresh it, this CSS won't get attached, because as a response we are just sending the HTML, but this HTML has related JavaScript and CSS to let know that our application, that this file has related file, which is style sheet and script tag, that you can find it on which folder, on public folder. That's what I did, but you cannot give it like that, but we have to do path dot join, and this is how you give, and now your CSS would get connected. Likewise, we can connect script tag also, script.js. We'll give the name script.js. Cool. Now we don't need the style sheet for now. So let's populate the HTML. I'm just going to paste the HTML from the previously created application. I'll just paste the HTML and CSS, but we will create the CSS from scratch. Now let's call the HTML. You see that HTML got pasted. Now we have to work on this form submission, and we need to create routes, we need to create controller, and we need to create model. Cool. For now we don't need this HTML and script tag. What we need now is we need to create model for the schema. Let's create a new folder and call it as model, and inside model we need doctor schema.js and one more file, consultation.js. Consultation model, we'll name it as model instead of schema. Now what we have to do is, let's call the Mongoose package. Now we need to create doctor schema. Doctor schema has name, specialization, and experience. Name, specialization, and experience. So this is an object. We have to close the object and close the round bracket. Now since it's a model, we need to export it, and this is the table, and this is the design for the table. Similarly, we have to do for the consultation, and for consultation we have patient name, disease, consultation fee, consultation schema. and what all things that we need. Let's just create the instance properly. Consultation consultation. Now what do we need? We need the first data type, which is or the column or the key, which is patient name, and we need diseases. Diseases should be the second key, and what should be the third key, which is fees. Let's keep this as number. And then what? Again we need doctor ID, and here there is one special type, which is object ID, because we would be storing the ID of the doctor. So for that we are referring the doctor model, and we are referring the primary key. So here it's not primary key, but we are referring to this ID. We don't have any ID here, but it will be automatically created, and we would be referring to that ID. Each doctor would be stored with reference. I have deleted it, you won't be able to see it. Cool, no issues. Once I create it, I'll make sure you understand. Each doctor will have its unique ID, and we are talking about that ID being linked to the patient. Cool. The doctor model is also ready. Now we need to create routes. This routes will be again for doctor route .js, and then we need one more route, which is consultation routes.js. And for doctor route, let's say we need the package Express, and we can call it with express dot router, and let's give the instance name as a router. So whenever someone search for /doctor, you should see doctor route, and we need to export the router, and we will be calling this in the server.js, and it would be a middleware app.use. Whenever someone searches for /doctor, I want the routes to get called, or we can say doctor routes. Now let's call this file over here. So in the doctor, we don't need model for now. In the doctor route, let's say when someone hit /doctor, I think we got an error somewhere. Syntax error. Exports in the router module.export. You should see module.exports router, and if I hit /doctor, you should see doctor route. Now what we do is we'll pass the request to the controller. So for that, we need one more folder called controller, and inside controller we need Doctor Controller .js, and then we need Consultation Controller.js. Now let's pass this request to the Doctor Controller. So we need to import the Doctor Controller here. It's controller, and let's give the reference, and on this function you will find a get all doctors function. On this file you will find get all doctors function, and this get all function will take care of your request and response. Console.log. Cool. Now what we do is we will send request to /doctor, and now we'll get the response from the controller if there is no error. So I think we found an error, so it's we should go one level up, then find the controller. Again we are in the routes, we need to find controller, controller. Inside controller we need to find a Doctor Controller, and inside Doctor Controller there's that seems to be okay. Well, let's find what is showing. So the problem is simple, we forgot to add exports. Cool. Now if I hit doctors, you should get reply from the because we are not sending it to the not sending the response to the browser, but we are sending response to where? Yes, now we got the reply from the controller. Cool. Now let's focus on the script. Let's work on the first CRUD operation, which is doctor. In the public HTML, let's just see the doctor. So we have a form with ID doctor, and we have doctor name, specialization, experience, and a input type submit button. We need to call these in the JavaScript. So doctor form document. The second thing is we need a input field value. The first one is doctor name, const doctor name input, document dot query selector. It's a class, so dot. Again it should be passed as a string. The second thing is specialization, and the third thing is experience. Cool. Now when I submit details through doctor form, so we will be calling submit event. When I click on submit, by default the page would get loaded. We don't want that. e.prevent default will take care of it. And let's create a new object, and we'll call it as form data. So we will have doctor name, and get the value from the input field dot value, Then the second one, we don't need this. The second one is specialization input field, and we can call it as specialization. And the third one is experience. And now let's see whether we are able to log the form data. Clicking on inspect, check the console. Now let's type something on the doctor form and send the data to the server or to the browser. The first name is doctor cardiologist experience. Click on save. Actually, there seems to be a problem. Make sure your script tag is properly linked. Yes, it is linked. What is the second thing? Cannot post. Make sure your endpoint is set. We have doctor, and when someone clicks on this, where should it go? /doctor. I hope that isn't the issue. There should be something different. Let's try. We shall some random words and some random words. Click on. Yeah, we are able to send the route, but we should not do that. Yeah, it's because the ID is not we don't need ID. Let's call it by query selector and ID. I think the ID is just doctor, but we are trying doctor form. That's why it's not able to pick the proper form. Type something, some random value. Click on save. Again, I could not pick the proper doctor. It's doctor again. Let me come to the console and try it. Yeah, I'm able to pick it. So we are getting an error over here. Query selector doctor name. A silly mistake here. It's an object, so it should be colon instead of form data is not defined. Filling some random values, and you see those data are getting populated. Now we need to send this to the server. How are we going to do it? We would be sending it through fetch, and let's set the endpoint doctor end point. We'll be sending request to this URL, and let's see whether we are able to send it or not. On the network tab, fill some values. Click on save doctor. On the Okay, it says payload will be only appear when we send data. So we are not sending any data, that's why. So we are just hitting the URL, but we are not sending data. To send data, we need to pass the method. The method that we would be using is post. And what type of data we are going to pass? It's going to be application/JSON. And what data that we are going to pass? It's the form data. So we need to convert our JavaScript object into the JSON object. That's why we use JSON.stringify. Now let me refresh it and sum down data and some random values. Click on save. If I click on doctors, you see payload. So doctor name, experience and specialization. We are able to send it from the client side. Now we need to access this from the server side. To access this, first of all, we need to prepare the method. So it's going to be post and create doctor as a function that is going to take care of it. Exports dot create doctor. So now let's see whether we are able to properly hit that URL. If we are able to properly hit the URL, we will be getting the response. Click on save doctor, and the response is now what we need to do is we need to access all data that we have seen. Make sure your middleware is set. So to set middleware, app.use express.json should be there. That's only when you will be able to send the response from the controller so that your HTML file can access it. Now let's create a new object called form data, and we'll get those values. Let's say what are the values that we are going to get: doctor name, and then specialization, and then experience. Then what we need to do is we need to store them. To store them, we need model. So we will call doctor model, and we'll name it as doctor. Now we are going to communicate with the database, so it has to be async. And then to connect, we will be creating an object const new doctor equal to new, and we need to pass the form data. Once we pass it, we need to save it dot save, and it should be await. Now what? We need to send this on JSON with the message. Since we are creating a resource, so status can be 201, and now we can access this message. So let's say we are able to receive the message or not. If we are able to, there seems to be an error on the terminal. Models, it's not models, it's model. Cool, refresh it. Let's try to hit it. So this would get saved in the database. So we need to give proper name, Vishal, specialization cardiologist, experience 5. Click on save data. Now request is sent, but path is required, doctor validation field. Let's see in the schema, doctor schema, we have name, specialization and experience. This could be the issue. Maybe it is expecting name, specialization and name. Then we have specialization. Then we have experience. Okay, we need to access it from that. So again, from the model we need name, specialization. Let's refresh it. Let's try it one more time. Sending name, so doctor name, and then experience. On save. Again 500. Doctor validation. Name is required. We're able to send name, experience, and specialization, but request.body, yeah, it's name that we are passing. So as a payload we are passing name, specialize. That's why it could not fetch properly. Doctor name, and cardiologist, and experience. Yes, resource got created, and we got the response. Doctor created successfully. Now what do we need is, we need to get the response from the script tag with then. So first we need to convert it, convert the response, and then with this, once the JSON got converted into JavaScript object, now what we can do is we can get the JavaScript object, then we can alert saying data.message. Let's try one more time. This time Dr. Ron as eye specialist, experience 5. Click on save. Doctor created successfully. So that means the resource got created. So let's check in the MongoDB collection whether we are able to populate the Doctor DB. Inside Doctor DB we have a collection called doctors. Inside doctors we have Vishal and Ron. Cool. We are able to display, we don't need this, we are able to do the post operation. Now let's do the fetch operation, which is get operation. So display doctors, and also the form should get resetted. So where is the form? Form dot reset. Cool. Now we would be doing the fetch operation again, and this time we will be getting the list of doctors, not a single doctor. So console.log all the doctors. Now once I click on it, we will hit the request on the routes, and routes will pass the request to the get all doctors, and get all doctors will simply connect with the database. Sorry, here in this case it's model. So the model is doctor.find, and send it as a response. Response.send. We can simply save this as const all doctors and send it. Now on page load in the script.js, on page load, let's load that. Let's hit that get request. On page load you should see doctors, and we got the list of doctors. You can see the list of doctors got fetched. Now we need to call the HTML where we are going to display it. So in the HTML we have named it as ID, table ID. So const table ID, let's call tbody, and in this tbody we are going to append the row tbody dot inner HTML. We'll use backtick, and over here we can simply display these values. Actually, we won't be displaying these much value. Let's just see what is the minimum value that we need. We need name, specialization, let's say cardio something, and experience is 5, and a delete button. So button, and we'll call it delete. So this is the basic table row that we need. And inside this we can access dot name. So if you see, we can access name, so this should be as a query string, or we call it query literal. We have doctor, we have specialization, and then we have experience, and then we have on click, delete, will pass the ID underscore ID. So let's check whether we are able to populate it or not. Yes, we are able to populate it. No, we are not able to populate because this is coming from the static HTML. We don't need this. And in the console cannot set the properties. It's not able to find the tbody. I think it's ID, or it's ID, not class. Let's refresh it. Cool, but not cool. Here we are not able to see the output. Datas. Actually, the thing is, the data is not just a one data, it's a collection of object. So we have to use for each. And then we can access the individual object through this variable. Now we will be able to display those HTML if there is no error. For each, let's just see the response that we are receiving is, it's not an array. You can simply directly access in this way. Now we need to use concatenation so that two values gets added one below the other. Now the next thing is work on delete. So let's just hover on the delete button and see whether we are able to access the ID. Yes. Now let's create this delete doctor function. Delete doctor function accepts ID, and here again we need to send the value through endpoint, but it would accept the ID, delete ID. Let's create the object and we'll pass ID colon ID. So here it's going to be delete. Now let's see whether we are able to send the delete request or not. Okay, there seems to be an error. seems to be an extra bracket. Network, click on delete. Let us try passing it as a string. Yeah, now a request is sent. In the payload you can see ID is there, and we are not getting response because we have not set the routes and the relevant function to take care of it. Delete doctors. Over here, exports.delete doctors. We would be getting the ID, and we would be using the find by ID and delete, and we would be getting the message through the response. Hope if we don't have any error. Cannot delete doctor. So doctor, the relevant function, and then it's an object del ID. We'll pass this inside. Now we can send this del ID dot ID. Refresh it, click on delete. Cannot. Could be its delete function. If I click on delete, if I get the response 200, that means we have properly deleted the doctor. If I refresh, yeah, doctor is gone. Likewise, let's add one more doctor and type something and click 5 experience. It should get added, but it's adding twice. In the script tag there is an issue, so whenever we call this, make sure we clear it first and then display it. See, now a Ross again, some random name and of experience, it got added. Now let me delete this. It's gone. Again it's gone. So let's add one more doctor, which is Suresh, and the specialization is what? Eye care. Experience 6. Click on save, and it got saved. Now this next thing is, when I load this drop down, I want these doctor information. And this fetch will only get the doctor name. Fetch all doctor names. Now the request is sent to fetch doctors, and we can simply doctors slash names, we'll add like that. Slash names. So we need to take care of the get operation. Slash names, get all doctor names. Now in the controller, exports dot let's see whether we are able to fetch the doctor name. So for that we need to run this on page load. I think there is a missing round bracket. Refresh it. So all doctors, you can see names, we got names. So we are able to fetch the names in the doctor controller, find and select. Now we can access this in the script tag and we are displaying it as names. We got the data, and what we will do is we will map it. Instead of map, what we can do is data.forEach will get individual data. Let's try it and check it in the console. Yes, we got it. Now what we will do is we will be populating it in the drop down. So here, get this select tag. Let's call the select tag. I think it's the ID that we are going to call doctor all select. Then what we will do is this is .inner HTML option. At first we will simply have a, let's try refreshing it. You can see we are able to fetch, but first let's clear the value before appending. So now you see Vishal and Suresh are available for the doctors section. Now if we want, what we can do is we can simply add an option and call it a select doctor, and by default we can set it as selected. Selected doctor, and we can make it as disabled. And that's done. Now it's time to work on the second CRUD, which is consultation. We'll do the same thing but in a quicker way. We'll close the doctor related. Now let's open the routes for the consultation related. Get the package Express and use the router and export the router module.export router. Then what? Then with the help of a router you get the get request and try it whether it's working or not. And we need to initialize the router on as a middleware. Consultation routes, and we'll call that consultation routes. So we need to find this inside routes/consultation routes. Cool. Now let's try hitting the consultation. We should get the response from the routes, which is user consultation routes. When I hit consultation, let's check why it's not properly load. consultation routes. Oh yes, we don't need this unless we want to call it this way. We don't need this. Now you'll see consultation routes has got up. So this is for the get request, but actually this is not how we call. We need to call the consultation route, sorry, consultation controller, and we'll be passing this as a second parameter and call the function get all consultation, and we will be calling this. This will have the response, request and response, and we'll just send response dot send. Let's try to hit it again. Now the request should be sent to the controller, and controller, there's an issue. Make sure controller, it's controller. Yeah, now you can see the response, the request is sent to the controller. First routes receives it, and route sends it to the controller. Controller sends the response now with this text. Cool. Now similarly we are going to try with the post and create consultation. Now what we need to do, we need to call the HTML for the HTML form for the consultation. I hope I have given it the ID consultation. Now in the script we need to initialize the form as consultation form, and we need to get the input. What are all the input that we have? Patient name, we have patient name, we have patient disease, and we have patient just a fees. So these three input field we have to call it from the JavaScript. So call this 1 2 3 4. So this is for the patient name input, and this is for the disease input, or just a patient disease, and finally we have fees for the fees input. Now we have all these. We need to use the submit. When I click on submit of this form, submit.add event listener will take care of it. By default, e.prevent default, and create a form data that will have patient name, patient disease, patient fees, and the doctor name. And make sure your doctor name value comes as an ID, not as a name. Argument handler, I think we have set the post, maybe this is not created yet, that's why it's showing an error. And in the drop down, let's check how the option tag value is set. Okay, so these are names. We don't need names to be populated, instead we need IDs to be populated. So we have it at the very end, name underscore ID. Let's check. Yes, you can see in the values we are able to get the ID, and now when I submit it, I want the ID to get sent. First we'll check with the console log whether we are properly able to fetch those input field value. some random value, some random value, some random value, and some random value. Click on save. So in the console you are able to fetch all these values, so we can send this. So let's create a endpoint and call it as consultation endpoint, and with this we'll do fetch operation consultation endpoint. Method is post, header is set. It's similar to what we have already done for the patient doctor's form, and if we get the response we will reset the consultation form. So what response we will be getting it? That would be sent to this post request, and this function will take care of it, and this function exports dot will simply send consultation, but we'll send it as JSON. First, this is the second parameter. First parameter message dot message colon, and the second parameter simply this text. So this is an object, so curly brace is important. Now whether we are able to fetch the result and display it, yes. Let's see if everything goes well. If we are able to add it, we'll get the response in the alert. So Vishal, the disease is fever, fees is 500. Vishal is going to be consulted by Vishal again. Click on save, and it says consultation data saved successfully. We got the message. So we were sending these items, we got this message, but there is one thing. In the place of doctor name there is something called ID. We don't need that. So what I would do is, so let us save this as it is, but when we fetch we will change it to doctor name. Now it's time for the get request. So what I need is get all consultations is a function that will send the fetch request with method get. Cool. Now we are going to send. Now the request is sent to the get method with get method, and this function is going to take care of it, and this function simply says what? Nothing. So let's call the model. Actually we should have saved this, but I somehow lost it. So let's call the const model. It's just model, and with this we'll be able to first let's fetch it, sorry, first save it. So try, so we don't need try and catch. We need to create a new object, so we'll call it new consultation, and this is going to be an object. So what are the data that we would be passing? Owl fever 500, the doctor is Suresh. Click on save. Now in the request we would be getting doctor name colon, then we would be getting fees, then we would be getting what? Fees, then we would be getting patient name, then we would be getting what? We would be getting, sorry, patient disease and patient name. But make sure these key matches with your model. So in the model we have patient name, so let's properly tag it properly. Then for disease, it's not patient disease, it's just disease. For fees, it's just fees. And for doctor ID, this is how it is. And once it is set, we need to create an object, new consultation, and you will be passing it object, save it, and this is saved successfully. Once it is saved, you'll get the message data got saved. Cool, that is one thing. Now it's time to fetch those value. To fetch those value, we will be simply using this model dot find, and in the find we would say link it with the this populate, so this is going to be await. So this populate all consultation data, and we will be sending response dot send. Cool, now we are going to link our consultation data, consultation table or collection with the doctor collection. So what is the foreign key here? Doctor ID is a foreign key. With the help of doctor ID, what all data you need? I just need these three information: name, specialization, and experience. And if everything goes well, consultation, new object consultation, you can give any name. Actually there are two new, that's why. So if it is set, then we would be receiving this. Let's just load this with on page load and try whether we are able to fetch those information or not. Make sure you have data first. So consultation response, so this is not defined. All consultations, somewhere I have misspelled it. Oh yeah, just copy this and paste it. Consultations, the response we have nothing. Let's just try saving it. Rahul has disease, let's say fever, the consultation fee is 500. Who is going to consult it? Dr. Vishal is going to consult it, and I hope it is recording. Yeah, save it, and now refresh it. Consultation is not, it's not blank now. Now you see we are able to properly fetch those value from the doctor table, and we are going to we are able to properly, that's what we need. Now since we have this, so let's make this Ramesh, the disease is eye check, and consultation is 300, and for Ramesh, Suresh is the doctor. Click on save. Now we should get two, page refresh it, we should get two data. Two data we got it. Now this function, sorry, the script tag, this function has to be called get constellation is also done. Cool. Now we need to populate this in the table, just as we have done it on the doctor table. Similarly we have to do it for the consultation table. Get this table, and this is consultation table t body. We'll pick this t body reference and try to append it with backtick. and here we need to pass the table row. So this table row I'll pick it and delete the other, and I'll send it as a HTML that I want to modify. Now what data are we getting? Accordingly we will fill. So actually it's a collection of data, not just one data, so we need to run for each. So datas dot for each will be getting individual data, and with this, inside this, let's just check whether we are able to console log it one by one, and then we will populate the HTML. Refresh it, check the console. Yes, we are able to properly fetch one by one. Now simply in place of console log, append our table row. We would be getting patient name. So here patient name data dot patient name, and then as a second parameter we would be getting patient disease or just disease, and then as third parameter we would be getting what? We would be getting we can access this with the help of doctor ID, data dot doctor ID dot name dot name, and finally fees. It's fees. Let's try refreshing it. If everything goes well, you should see Rahul and Ramesh, and let's add one more name called Michael, and the diseases you can give any name, fever, and consultation is 600. Visual is going to take care of it. Click on save. Once it got saved, so it is getting appended twice. So to solve this, as we have already seen, just before the for each, clear the inner HTML, refresh it. Now let's add one more thing, and we can name anything called Sultan. Disease is fever, and the consultation fee is 600. Doctor is, sorry, click on save, success message, and that got displayed. So this is the second CRUD operation that we have completed. Now it's time to create another API for this dashboard. So that's little complicated. This is the place where we would be learning the query. So in MongoDB it's called again MongoDB also we would be calling it query, but we'll create a different data type. So we need to create routes again, and we will call it as dashboard routes.js, and in the dashboard routes.js we'll create another controller, and we'll call it as dashboard controller.js, and in the server.js we have to properly create the route for it, dashboard, and the route would be responsible for to handle this. So let's call that as well. We'll name it as dashboard routes, and we'll pick the proper file. Yes, this is, and the instance should be properly called dashboard routes all dashboard routes. Okay, maybe we have not created the router yet, that's why it's showing. So let's call one more routes. Where is it? Routes, doctor routes, copy all, and paste it in the dashboard routes. We'll simply remove these. We don't need control in this. Okay, controller, we need dashboard controller. And now it got connected. Now a simple route, and in the controller we'll be calling this function exports dot we'll just send the response saying that response.send hello from dashboard controller, and when I hit dashboard, you should see the message hello from dashboard controller. You see that is in action. Now first thing what we need the now we need two models, doctor model, and we have properly called doctor model. Now to know the total number of doctor and total number of consultation, we can simply use the count document function. So doctor count document will give the list of object or the list of document inside collection, and to get the list of document inside consultation, we will be using count document, consultation dot count document. So this too is very simple. Now let's work on the fees. So we will be calling, and over here you see I'm creating a new variable called total fees, which will use the aggregate function, and the aggregate function says group all the document that you have, sorry, all the collection that you have. So that's why I'm passing null. So when I pass null, what happens is all the collections will come as one group. So now I have one group. Now in that, what should I do? Now I need the total variable to fill with what? To fill with the sum of fees. So dollar fees is nothing but the column name dollar, the column name fees. The column name fees is now all the documents, sorry, all the collections are now in one collection, and in that connection choose for the key which is fees and convert it to int, and once it's convert into integer, then what you have to do is then do the sum. Sum is actually a function just like we have in SQL, and send the sum or the total of fees to this total fee variable, and now I can access it. So total fee dot total, I need this variable, and then I would be, and finally we would be sending all the values as a response.send. So this is count document, this is count document, we have seen the sum, and this is something unique total doctor that you can figure out with ChatGPT. But in the next video we will I'll clearly explain what this. So we have group, we have sort is for ascending and descending, limit is for limiting the total number of output, and we'll see what is lookup and what is upwind and what is project in the coming video. Just consider we are fetching all the values and sending it as a response to. So it's just we have to send the call the script, and each of them, let's say 1 2 3 4, will have an ID. We need to call it. So first what we can do is we can send a request to the endpoint and call it as dashboard endpoint, and with this dashboard endpoint, or we'll create a function get dashboard data, and we can fetch, I believe everything is right, and let's call this let's try adding one more doctor called Ron, and let's say he's specialized in kidney something and experience is 5. Click on save. So the total count of doctor is 3 now, and let's add a patient. Let's just add Rahul again. Fever is something, consultation is 500. Visual is going to check it. Click on save.